We're at the Budh International Circuit, a racetrack, to drive this, the Kia EV6. And I know what you're thinking. Long, hatchback, spacious, family-oriented, and a racetrack don't exactly go together now, do they? But then you hear the stats. So 2 motors, one on the front axle, one pushing the rear wheels, 325 PS and 605 Newton meters of torque, and 0 to 100 kmph in just 5.2 seconds. And then you think, well, maybe that car and a racetrack aren't too far apart now, are they? Time now to get strapped in and see what it's like. Now again, since we're at a racetrack, I have to put that disclaimer out there that how this car is going to behave on really smooth, perfect tarmac is going to be very different to how it behaves out on the real world. I can though, however, tell you how good the performance is. And let's get straight into that. So we're all belted it, coming down to the main straight. Time to see how much performance we have. Woo! So yes, like any electric car, that initial acceleration is instantaneous. 2 motors means traction is brilliant, and well, we're going down the straight and we're locked at 192 kmph. That's down the back straight of the Budh International Circuit. So performance? Check. Big tick on that checkbox.
Kia will also give you the option of a 229 PS 350 Nm single motor which will drive the rear wheels and zip you to 100 kmph in 7.2 seconds.
In terms of how the car feels on the track, the steering is, well, nice and direct. It changes in normal, sport and eco modes. In sport mode, it weighs up, well, fairly decently. I won't say it's on the heavier side. It's still a little light, but nice and direct. And you can really put the car where you want it. Coming into a corner, turn in, well, if you come in a little too hot, you do start to feel understeer. But with 2 motors, one driving the front wheels, it does pull that nose in nicely. In case you guys don't already know, the EV6 shares its platform with the Ioniq 5. And as Kia and Hyundai usually do with their car platforms, the Kia is the more sporty version. And hints are, well, the shape of the car, with that rear wing, that nice low coefficient of drag, sleek shape that will cut through the air. And of course, there are some performance bits as well. So you've got proper drive modes, a proper sport mode which gives you access to all of that power. In fact, it's very easy to spin up the rear wheels through these corners on the BIC today. We've had a lot of fun. And there's also 2 braking modes. So you have normal braking modes where the brakes are, well, normal. The pedal is very progressive, and you have a sport braking mode as well, where you're given access to much more power from those 4 discs on the 4 wheels. Like in all electrics, there's regen modes. You have 3 modes and 1 I-pedal mode. So they're accessible via the paddle shifts, and with level 1, 2 and 3, it's getting progressively more regen. So as you get off the pedal, there's more braking force applied to the car. And in the I-pedal mode, it says max regen over there. It is, well, really close to a 1 pedal situation, but when you get off the throttle, the braking force is a little more progressive. So it's be great for the city, but not really as aggressive as something like, well, what we experienced in the Volvo XC40 Recharge, for example. But the good thing is that all those options are there. If you're really used to a 1 pedal driving scenario, then I-pedal will work with that. And if you're not, if you're still getting used to regenerative braking, then the other modes will help you get to that I-pedal mode, which of course is where you want to be, because that's where you have the maximum regeneration and putting as much power as you can back into those batteries. Speaking of the batteries, this is a 77.4 kilowatt hour battery pack in this car. And Kia says you should get well over 500 kilometers of range from that battery pack.
Kia is capable of being charged up by 350 kilowatts in just 18 minutes. but good luck finding a charger that fast. At 50 kilowatts, you can expect a 0 to 80% charge in about 1 hour 13 minutes. The Kia is an 800 volt system but can accept charging from either 400 or 800 volt chargers, so has no compatibility issues. One catchy feature is its ability to share its charge out too. So 3.5 kilowatts out to either another stranded EV in an emergency or to your vacuum cleaner if you're a neat freak and just have to have a spotless interior. At our product presentation, it powered the flat screen TV.
And another thing that's really relatable well to a racetrack is safety, of course. And the EV6 is packed with safety features. So 8 airbags, you're used to 6. Well, there's an airbag in the side here as well of the front seats, which prevent, collisions between the front 2 passengers as well. And there's a whole host of other safety equipment as well. So there's a full ADAS suite, which includes automatic braking, collision avoidance, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, as well as augmented reality, which really would help in navigation. And it's one of the first cars to bring augmented reality to India. Well, speaking of more fun elements from this car, as it's an electric, there's no sound from an engine, but you do have 3 sound modes. One's called stylish, which gives you just sort of a hum in the background. And there's dynamic, which turns that hum into more of an electric, futuristic movie kind of a sound. And then we've got cyber, which just calms things down a little bit. Still very futuristic and electronic, but something to play with, something that these new electric vehicles are going to bring to us. So yes, it's going to be very saddening when we do actually say bye to internal combustion engines, but there's still quite a bit of excitement that can come from, these new electric platforms. So being on a racetrack with this car hasn't really been an odd experience today. In fact, I've had a lot of fun. And now this gives me time to talk about the EV6 in a little bit more detail. So the EV6 is based on Kia's eGMP platform. That's an electric vehicle built from the ground up to be an electric. And it's quite a striking electric if you ask me. So it's long and low and has this nice, very aerodynamic shape, a coefficient of drag as low as 0.28. We're all familiar with Kia's Tiger nose, but with the EV6, Kia is debuting their digital Tiger face. So no real grille anymore. Most of these are blanked out elements that look like a grille. There's only one small little air intake here, and that would be for cooling.
As with all Kias, the beauty is in the details. The 4 grille elements, the aggression of that sharp nose, and the angles of the bumpers. The flat sides with those flush fold-out door handles, and those beautifully detailed tail lamps and turn indicators, and of course those rear fog lights as well.
I said it was long and low, right? But you really have to hear those numbers to have an idea what it looks like, IRL. So the wheelbase is 2900 mm. That's longer than a Fortuner. And in terms of overall length, it's over 4.6 meters long, almost 4.7 meters long. So it's not a big hatchback, it's a big hatchback. And as you move from the side to the rear of the EV6, you notice one signature element, and that's that accent line that runs along from the bottom of the front wheel all the way up here into this continuous tail light element. Really interesting look to that car, and it really accentuates the width of that rear end. And everything is tilted around facing the driver, so you really feel important in this seat. 12.3-inch dual curved displays up front and nice and clear, crystal clear graphics. And of course, as with Hyundai and Kia cars, that software is really easy to use and snappy performing as well. Then we move on to this floating console over here. So that houses your ventilated seat controls. This is the gear selector lever, and over here we have wireless charging, which is vented and cooled as well. And it's also really useful because it's 15-watt wireless charging. So it's something you could really use. The other thing to talk about, of course, is the materials. So really nice soft touch materials almost everywhere that you're feeling, and most of it is all recycled. So recycled plastic in the floor mats, a lot of the lower paneling as well, and vegan leather. This is regular leather in the cars that we have over here for test, but the customer cars that are going to come in are going to have suede vegan leather. So it will be a really nice plush experience in this cabin. Big car experience in a hatchback? Well, with the EV6, it really seems possible. That's how much leg room I have behind my driving position. I'm 5'10" for reference, and it's spacious. The only complaint is that I can't really stick my feet under the front seat, so I can't really stretch my legs out. But the rear backrest reclines if I can find the handle. So you have a nice relaxed seating position. But what you can also notice, because it's an EV, the batteries are under the floor, so the floor is a little higher and you don't have all as much under thigh support as you maybe want. But really comfortable in the back here. As you can see, again, loads of room, headroom as well, and it's a wide car, so in a pinch you could fit 3 abreast quite easily because of that flat floor and a very flat seat as well. It is an all black cabin, so it is a little dark in here, but you have nice big windows with a small little quarter glass, so it does feel fairly airy. You do have these big headrests, though if they were smaller it would be just a little bit better view out the front. In terms of practicality, you've got charge ports here on the side, a little bit unique, and you have AC vents, but they're on the side in the pillars. So this could be a chauffeur driven car as well if you want, because of that massive amounts of legroom that you can get. Kia says that the E in EV6 stands for not just electric but emotion as well. And today has been an emotional day. A lot of positive emotions. Well, that anticipation before we drove it of putting those 325 horses to the tarmac, and once we did, the excitement that came from it. So yes, what is the EV6 promising you? Well, exclusivity for one. Just 100 units is what Kia is going to bring to the country, and those 100 units are going to go for between 65 to 70 lakhs is what our estimate is. Yes, that's quite a lot of money, but then that's quite a lot of car as well. Over 500 kilometers of range, great performance, and the exclusivity of just those 100 numbers. So something, well, you could really think about.